s.p.velumani आप नौसेना अध्यक्ष रहे और फिर सेना 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 s.p.velumani आप नौसेना अध्यक्ष रहे और फिर सेना
father, Commodore s.p.velumani, PSM, Indian Navy, retired. Dad grew up in a small village in Tamil Nadu, in a Brahmin family with traditional values, which, you would imagine, would be about as far removed from a career in the Navy as possible. After completing his schooling, he attended Presidency College in Madras, as it was then known, studying for and graduating with a bachelor's degree in science. And while at Presidency College, he had occasion to witness a parade, and he saw naval personnel taking part in that parade. The way he told it to me was that he was so impressed with the turnout and with the uniforms that it inspired him to apply to join the Navy. I'm sure the uniforms would have influenced him, but I'm also sure that the idea of adventure and the challenge of being a naval officer also played a significant part in his decision to join the Navy. And what a decision that turned out to be. He was a trailblazer, a pioneer, and is and always will be a legend. I know he would have been successful at whatever field of endeavor he put his hand to. But the Navy, and especially the submarine arm, seemed particularly suited to his aptitudes and skills. He was, of course, the father of the submarine arm and held in extremely high regard by submariners of all vintages. We were able to witness this at first hand when we attended the Golden Jubilee of the submarine arm in Vizag in 2018. And the respect that was shown to him was palpable. There were junior submariners lining up to take selfies with Dan, and he was treated like a rock star, which he was, and deservedly so. He was a man of great determination and intelligence, and he possessed the ability of deep thinking and analysis, but was also very happy to be hands-on and actually get his hands dirty. Many were the times when he would open up the bonnet of his car, more about that later, and dismantle things within the car, clean them, service them, reassemble them, and put them back together so that the car actually ran better. Now that car, he bought it brand new in 1960 and brought it back to India when he returned from his posting there in England. And it stayed with him for over 50 years. We all learned to drive on that car and had many driving holidays with it over the years when we were growing up. It was Dad's pride and joy, and it said something about the value he held for things of quality. He also met my mother when he was posted in England. They were fellow passengers on a train journey, and Dad struck up a conversation with Mom. One thing led to another, and they had a long and rewarding marriage and 3 children, the 3 of us. Marrying someone from so far outside his community was typical of the maverick, enterprising spirit that epitomized Dad. Nothing was too hard, too difficult, or too much to do. It was this spirit that led to him becoming the legendary submarine officer that he became. How else do you explain the way he led his officers and men in the far reaches of the USSR, to the first USSR submarine batch, living and training in the extreme cold of Siberia, having had to learn Russian at a very high level, dealing with the Soviet authorities and commissioning INS Kalvari in Riga, and sailing her back to Vizag around the Cape of Good Hope. He led by example and was undaunted in all that he did. Yes, my father was the father of the submarine arm, but he was also our father. He was and is an example to us, and we reflect his values, his intellect, and his personality in our own ways. He was a man of whom we can be proud of, and we are. Dad came a long way from his humble beginnings, but he remained true to himself. A good man, honest with himself and to everyone around him. Go in peace, Dad, and thank you for being a part of our lives. Om Shanti.
was a lieutenant, 24 years old, and I was 15 minutes late. I wanted to join INS Angale in Bombay, where I knew there was a bunch of people training in Russian language. I could not, however, join as I had not been, at that time was not a lieutenant. And the day I got my second strike, I put in for the submarine arm and just about managed to catch this bus which was already moving. I was 15 minutes late, and he had an office in the shop, and I stepped at the doorway, saluted and said, "May I come in, sir?" He said, "You're 15 minutes late." And that has been, it was typical, absolutely typical of him. When he saw something wrong, he immediately pointed it out. He didn't care who it was, including his seniors. He pointed out to them too. He was a strict disciplinarian, but a kind man actually. He would scold, admonish, and later on say quietly, after working hours, "Have a cup of tea with me in the morning." When we went to the Soviet Union, the Russians treated us as they did all nations at that time, with some kind of condescension, thinking that after all we live in mud huts, snake charmers, elephants, all that sort of thing. He stood up and told them, "We know quite a lot. We operate an aircraft carrier which you don't. We have come here to learn, not to be lectured. We will tell you where you are going wrong. We have already trained in the UK. So we will tell you if you are doing anything wrong. So please don't underestimate us." He never stood any nonsense from the Russians. And they were, in that sense, very wary of him. He was not unreasonable in his demands, but he got what he wanted. When we went to the west, to Latvia, which was then part of the Soviet Union, and commissioned the submarine in Riga, that was a great day for us, and we were celebrating after the commissioning ceremony, and he said, "Right, time to celebrate is over, your work begins now." When we went, reached after 3 months, after a long sail around the Cape of Good Hope, as we mentioned, came to Visakhapatnam, where he immediately put on a second hat. He was officer in charge of the submarine base. He wasn't then existed. From then on, he put all of us to work for 6 hours a day on the submarine and 6 hours a day ashore, training and teaching the next submarine batch. So we were all kept extremely busy, working 12 hours a day, every day, except Sundays. He was greatly respected, greatly admired, and I think the staff in headquarters were slightly afraid of him, because he was always right, and he never hesitated to point it out. He was treated with a kind of regard which is almost like adoration. When he left, he had tears in his eyes when he left Naval for the first time. He was transferred as the chief staff officer to Cochin, and after that, one rarely saw him. But the evening he left, his voice broke. He said, "This is my saddest moment. I'm saying goodbye to you, and I have only one message. Look after your men. That is your most important task as officers. Look after your men. They will look after the ship." And he actually broke down at that stage in India. I never forgot that moment. I was proud to have served with him several years. And I think I learned a great deal, as did many others. I wish him a happy journey to wherever he's going. And there is no doubt that he's going where he deserves, at the highest seat that is now available.